a boy is unconsciously attracted to his mother. This is a bit of a wild idea, and it is one of the many ideas that Sigmund Freud has had that has sparked controversy in the world of psychology and in the world in general. Today, I will be giving an overview on what kind of man Sigmund Freud was and what he did for psychology overall, besides sparking a bit of arguments. Sigmund Freud was an Austrian neurologist, born on May 6, 1856, and is a founder for psychoanalysis, which is a method for treating mental disorders through patient analysis dialogue. Freud typically focused on the minds of women with hysteria and neurosis. Hysteria was an ancient diagnosis for disorders, primarily of women with a variety of symptoms, including physical symptoms and emotional disturbances, none of which had an apparent cause. Sigmund Freud's main theory on psychoanalysis was the psychoanalytic theory on personality and how the unconscious mind affects behavior in said personality. He introduces it in 3 parts: ID, ego, and superego. All of these are results of why we act in a certain way around others. The function of the ego is conscious, and it looks over the ID and superego, making sure they're in balance by deciding how much of one is allowed. The ID is unconscious, and according to the National Library of Medicine, this ID is primarily concerned with gratification without regard to external constraints or possible consequences. And unlike the ego, is only sensitive to internal stimulation and has no direct communication with the external world. So, in more simple terms, the ID is all about instant gratification, which is the opposite of the superego, telling us the morally correct option. So, to put it in a way, the superego is our angel, and that ID is our little devil, and the ego is us and what we decide to follow more. Should we do the morally correct option or do the option that will definitely lead to more consequences? When discussing the theories of psychology, his theory of development talks about how one goes through 5 stages of life: oral, philiac, latency, oral, anal, philiac, latency, and genital. It is from infancy to adulthood that these stages occur. In these stages, he believed that one must conquer their biological drives and what society expects from them. In brief of the stages, the oral stage is primarily focused on the pleasure we get from the mouth. This is said to occur from birth to the age of 1. Anal, focused on bladder and bowel control, depends on how a child responds to toilet training. This is said to occur from 1 to age 3. Moving past philiac for a second, that we will get back to in a moment, latency is all about the development of the ego and superego. And this is about if the person's sexual energy is repressed or dormant. This is sits to puberty. The genital stage between puberty and death is about being able to balance urges and basic needs. Now going back towards the philiac stage, which is between the ages of 3 to 6, this is where Freud believed that a child desires their opposite sex parent, known as the Oedipal complex. The Oedipal complex has come to be known as Sigmund Freud's most controversial theory and is often joked about when referenced in popular media, said Tarzian, author of An Introduction and Brief Overview of Psychoanalysis. This holds true when examining current events in social media. You will find many videos of men depending on women to be a bit too alike to their mothers. And these videos appear pretty frequently, more than you would think. Many people who study Sigmund Freud's work find him to be unfavorable, as much of his work does not have much to back it up, just to prove it essentially. And a lot of his work is very more towards the sexual side. However, his ideas are so heavily integrated in how people view psychology, as said by Thornton, author of a Sigmund Freud report. It should be evident from the foregoing why psychoanalysis in general, and Freud in particular, have exerted such a strong influence among the popular imagination in the Western world, and why both the theory and the practice of psychoanalysis should remain the object of a great deal of controversy. So, as such, Sigmund Freud's theories and ideas have to be reworked in a way. Many of ideas are used as starting points to uncover a deeper and more plausible meaning, such as his daughter Anna Freud, who continued with his idea of ego. Many are always surprised, and there is a lot of rumors on how she heavily disliked her father, due to many believing that she was a lesbian. But actually, she very much respected his work in psychology, and that's why she continued it. Even in her book, which she focuses on ego, she discusses, through describing various mechanisms of defense, how the ego attempts to protect itself from the danger arising from both inside the individual and outside him, especially to protect itself from the helplessly overwhelmed. This book was very well received and remains a standard text today, says the Institute of Psychoanalysis, which means a lot considering how her father's work is not the most well received. So she very much took his ideas and made them into something more reliable. So, in short, like him or not, Freud's impact on psychology cannot be one that can really be ignored, or at the very least forgotten. It is the core of how many understand psychology, and it is used as a basis for other ideas out there. Bye. Have a good day.